Hi, Dan Papela here. Welcome to sixstringjazz.com. I'd like to thank you for enrolling in the Wave course. And what I'm going to do with this audio file is explain to you the chord progression. I can kind of go into more depth with an audio file because it takes less space than the video files do on the website. In any case, if you look on your screen, you're going to see a file that's called Wave-Lead Sheet. If you double click on that, you can open it up and either print it out or just look at it on your screen, and I'll talk it down. You don't have to worry about playing your guitar right now, but I'll explain and maybe give you some insights about the structure of the tune that might not have occurred to you if you're either unfamiliar with the tune or maybe haven't been playing so long. If you do print it out, you can maybe jot some notes on it if that's helpful to you. One of the things that you're going to notice, you'll look at the top of the sheet and there's a pickup that leads into letter A, where the little box with the A in it is. This song is of the form that we call AABA, and what that means is if you just follow the measures down, starting at letter A, where the repeat sign is, the double brackets and the repeat, you go down to the first ending, and there's repeats on the right, and that takes you back to letter A. You follow it back down. This time you play the second ending, which, by the way, is identical to the first ending if you're just comping the chords. So now you're at letter B, which you follow through, which happens to be 12 bars as well. Oh, I'm sorry, the letter B is 8 bars. And then there's double brackets, and then letter C. Letter C is identical to letter A with the second ending, so that's how we come up with this term AABA, or this form that we call AABA. And what that helps you to do is to be able to, if you were just playing guitar in the rhythm section, now all you really have to do to memorize this tune is memorize the first 12 bars, play it twice, memorize the 8 bars that are the bridge, play that once, and then play the first 12 bars again, and now you have the structure of the song memorized, rather than having to look at a chart and follow this. This is one of the all-time classics, so this is something that you should definitely know if you aspire to play with other musicians, and it's a beautiful song, so there's really no reason not to. And since you're in the course, let's go for it. So now let's go back to the beginning of this song, and letter A is where the melody begins. However, 9 times out of 10, everybody starts the tune Wave with a vamp. And the vamp is essentially what you see is the last 2 bars on this page, where it shows that D minor 7 to G7, and then it does it again. That sounds like... So that's a D minor 7 to G7. I played it for 4 bars rather than the 2 bars there. So typically people will play that vamp on the front of this song almost always. And one of the things that I do when I look at these charts is that I don't focus on the particular voicing of the chord. I see minor chords, I see dominant chords, and I see major chords. I also see diminished chords, but diminished chords are really a subset of dominant chords. So, for example, this D minor 7 to a G7 vamp, The D minor 7 to the G7 sounds like this. But it's not going to matter if I go to a D minor 7 to a G7, or maybe I'll go D minor 7 to a G13. Or D minor 9th. So you can see you have a lot of flexibility with the particular flavor of the minor chord, the dominant chord. We haven't talked about majors, but it's the same thing at letter A, where it goes into the melody where it starts off. There's that little triad means major, by the way. Sometimes it's spelled out M-A-J, but in this particular case, they just have the little triangle. They don't mean triads like rock and roll. Those aren't nearly as smooth sounding, but it's not going to matter if I play a D major 9th or a D major. All these different D major 7ths, major 6, they're all going to work. So, and what that does is that's going to give you more time to work through the progression if you're looking at a sheet like this than trying to bog down your brain with what exact voicing they mean when they wrote the chord out. So let's take a look at letter A. And we're going to play like a D major. I'm using a D major 9th. Don't worry about trying to match the voicings here. In the video section, I'm going to show you more about that. Here's a B flat diminished. The B flat diminished is really derived from an A dominant chord. There's what an A7 sounds like. If I raise the root of the chord up a half step, it gives me this B flat. They have a diminished 7th, but just diminished. Just think of it as B flat diminished. A minor 7th. This is a legitimate 2-5-1 right here in the key of G major. If you think of G as the 1, the A minor is the 2, the D is the 5, and the G is the 1. Then it goes minor, and then it goes to an F sharp 7, to the B7, to the B minor, to the E, and then the B7 to the A7. And don't worry about the sharp 9. You can play that, but I could have played an A7 with a sharp 5 or any number of different voicings that would sound good. Now we're back to the vamp, the D to minor 7 to G. Then we're back at letter A. That's our D to the G. G minor. Here's our F sharp. Our letter B, our bridge. G to C to the F major. That's a 2-5-1 in the key of F. The same thing down a whole step. F minor to B flat, dominant to an E flat major, which is a 2-5-1 in the key of E flat major. Here's a quick turnaround that takes us back to the key of D. It's an E diminished 7, but you can play an E minor 7 flat 5, and that's more that's a better choice. And this A7 with the flat 9, again, you can play any type of A dominant chord there and it'll get you through it fine. That's a 2-5-1 in the key of D that takes us back to, they have letter C here. Letter C is identical to letter A taking the second ending. So again, now here's where this AABA structure comes in really handy. This is a lot of stuff to memorize, but letter A is 12 bars long. If I'm playing rhythm guitar through this, I have to memorize 12 bars and then play it twice. A. The bridge is 8 bars long. I memorize that and play it once. Letter C is the same as letter A the second time. So all I have to do is memorize letter A, and I'm going to play it twice, play letter B once, play letter A again. And that's why they call it AABA. So I hope that helps you with understanding it. It's a very common form. That's something that hopefully will give you a little insight into what's happening with that. One thing they don't show is they don't show a repeat sign here at the end of the page, which would be helpful, but in any case, that's what's going on. Another thing that they don't show here is this song inevitably starts off with a vamp. Probably any time you've ever heard it, it always starts out like... So that vamp might go on for quite a while before the band starts. If you're playing this solo guitar, it's one thing, but when you're playing it in a band situation, maybe you're the lead instrument, you're the featured artist. In any case, before you start letter A, and particularly if you're playing with musicians that aren't very experienced, you want to make sure the band's playing and everybody's together. You know, the groove feels good, everybody's relaxed. The piano player, the bass player is not looking for his music or whatever. Hopefully you have this memorized rather than looking for music. But in any case, the point is that you want to be playing this in such a way that everybody's nice and relaxed when you start off on letter A, and that everybody's in the same spot. So I'm going to play through the changes now, and you can kind of follow along, and I'll try to give you some direction as to where I am when I'm doing this. So I'm going to start out vamping. One other thing that people do commonly when they haven't been playing for too long is they play everything way too fast. Don't try to play this like... Might sound okay, but really this bossa nova beat is much more infectious. No matter what, you're probably going to speed it up. So if you start it off slower, you're going to be better off, and it'll be easier to execute. So we just counted the tune off. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, vamp. We're just getting into the groove. Oh, guess what? The manager just came up to the stage, and now he's talking to the band leader. We don't, even though it's time to go to letter A, we better keep vamping. Because if we go into letter A, it's going to screw everything up, so we just keep vamping. Okay, now he's gone. Now the saxophone player picked up his horn. Now he's going to cue us. Now we're at letter A. There's the B flat. Here's the G minor. B minor, E, B flat, A. Vamp. This is letter A the second time down. Here's the B flat A. letter C, same as letter A. Now, another thing that happens with this vamp is sometimes it's twice as long as this. Generally speaking, if you're playing with people that aren't real experienced, you'll want to stick pretty close to the form just so people don't get confused. Oftentimes, the soloist might play the form of the song down a couple times and then do an extended blowing section over the vamp, and then come back in on letter A, and maybe the next soloist starts or something. So as you get more and more experienced, you want to really listen a lot to what's going on around you. You don't want to just kind of zone in on what your guitar is doing and be oblivious to what's happening around you. Even though it's not that hard to do that. So you want to be aware of the music that's happening around you, and again, don't worry too much about the particular voicing. Just think minor, dominant, and major. And on that note, also, there is in the recommended resources, there's a section of my book, Chord Shapes for Jazz Guitar, that shows you a number of different minor, dominant, and major voicings that would be real helpful to you. And also on the Six String Jazz site here, you can download the book. It's $10, and I think it'll be real helpful. It's rather than showing you like 10,000 chords, it's going to show you about 20 voicings in a single key of each type of chord. So, and there are videos. There's a video tutorial that's free that's on this site too, where I go through and explain to you my chord concept that hopefully will be helpful to you. A lot of information, but I hope that this helps explain some of the questions that you might have. In addition, if you have further questions, please shoot me an email. There's a link up there on your right. You can send me an email and I'll get back to you. And at this point, maybe you can look at this and now watch one of the first video, and I'm going to go through the progression and talk about the voicings that I might recommend, and we can go from there. Thanks again. I'm looking forward to hearing from you and watching one of your videos. Take care.